Welcome everybody. This is the SharePoint Patterns and Practices special interest group for PMP Site Score and PowerShell. And that's something what we actually talked about a few times before the Ignite as well. Ignite was last week in Atlanta. That we want to actually let's say, brand this bi-weekly office hours to be a special interest group for PMP Site Score and the PMP PowerShell, and obviously including the provisioning engine as well. And the reason why I want to do this is simply because there's so many calls, there's so many things, there's so many videos which we're pushing out, and we want to make sure that the content is relevant for the people who are attending. So if you're interested around the existing CSM, PMP Site Score or PowerShell stuff, this is the right call for you. And then there's a separate bi-weekly call around the SharePoint framework and the JavaScript core component. This way the people who are attending, they can actually decide what's relevant for them at the moment, and then they can drop by. On top of this, we will do obviously the monthly community calls as well. Let me go through the slides. There's a few pointers on the slides. We do not have a significant amount of content today, so it slightly depends on, let's see how much time we will actually spend on the slides, and depending on the questions what we have from the audience as well. Quick intro on the PnP. SharePoint Patterns and Practices is owned by the SharePoint Engineering. So this is an initiative, it's a community-driven initiative owned and coordinated by SharePoint Engineering. And what we do within the PnP is that we want to make sure that the community gets all of the needed guidance to get moving and get started and to do development around the SharePoint adding model, around the SharePoint framework and all of that. We do have code examples, guidance documentation in MSDN, monthly community calls which are summary calls, and then obviously a few case studies as well. AKMS SharePoint PnP is the landing page, which is pretty busy. We're looking into actually reformatting that page in the future, so it will be split to a multiple pages, so people can more easily find what's relevant for them. Good. Let's actually get on going on the other topic. So agenda for today, changes in office hours and special interest group. We're going to talk about that one slightly because, like mentioned in the last time, if you've seen the recording or if you participate, and well, in my intro as well, we're going to rebrand the office hours as a special interest group for PMP Site Score and the PMP PowerShell, and then the existing SharePoint framework and JavaScript special interest group will remain as well. We're going to talk about slightly what the PMP core team has been currently working. We're going to talk about where the community can assist as well around the PMP core and the PMP PowerShell. We would have few tasks where we would actually need your assistance if possible. There's a few other topics as well, and there should be plenty of time for open discussions and feedback. Typically it depends on how much I'm actually talking, which, well, based on the feedback in Ignite, I should actually talk slightly slower so people are able to catch up on what I'm actually talking. My English isn't, my Finglish might be difficult to understand every now and then. Good. What options do I have help for PnP? So there's a few different options where the community can assist us as well. So you can just use the samples, core component and guidance to JavaScript 1 or the PMP core or the PowerShell. And that's one way of helping us, because the more you use it, the more metrics we get, or the usage we get, and that way it's better for internal Microsoft discussions as well. Obviously, when you start using that, please provide feedback. Yammer group, I need to update that slide. Feedback using the Microsoft Technical Network, because the Yammer group no longer exists. The Office 365 Technical Network has been shut down, unfortunately, so people cannot access that old Yammer group anymore. Nasty situation, but somebody made a decision and no can do. And then if you find any issues, please use GitHub for reporting those issues as well. You can extend or improve existing samples, which is a really good way of helping as well. So rather than submitting a new sample around some of the PMP stuff, extend existing stuff, or create documentation, that's fine as well. Or you can fix issues what you encounter in the PMP Site Score and submitting a pull request or PMP PowerShell as well. And then there's different options on what you need to do depending on how you're helping us. Today we kind of have a quick look on the issue list. We have tagged some issues and added some comments on those issues where you might help us, which would be highly beneficial for everybody in the community as well. Because like everybody else, everybody is suffering from a resource constraints, and if you have availability of helping us, that would be brilliant. If you don't, that's absolutely fine as well. Good. A few updated URLs, and just to clarify the situation, I've mentioned this already 2 times, but it's always better to repeat a few times. We do have now, starting from this October, we do have kind of 3 different community calls. We do have a special interest group for SharePoint framework and JavaScript development, where we talk about the JavaScript core component as well. But mainly it's for having a discussion on a SharePoint framework. Well, I wouldn't say mainly. It's having a discussion on client-side development with SharePoint framework as a bi-weekly call. That used to be a weekly call, but I think we had a discussion within the call, and it makes more sense to have it bi-weekly, so there's much more valuable information shared within the call as well. Then we do have a PMP Core PowerShell, a special interest group, which is this one, because this has been, the office hours have been rebranded as the special interest group for PMP Core Component, Engine, and PowerShell. And really the idea is that these calls concentrate on specific areas. So we can actually talk about issues which you encounter, maybe a pull requests. We can have much more detailed discussion on specific topics. And then the third one is the PMP Monthly Community Call, which is more around us telling what has happened within the last month. So going through all of the individual changes across repositories and the guidance, MSDN, pages, whatever, in a 1 hour call, including demos as well. So whole point is that you'll have a summary on what has happened, and we'll demonstrate the new capabilities which have been released as part of the latest release of the PMP. Good, and there's some new URLs there as well. If you have any old AKMS addresses, those have been also updated. And if you use the existing office hour ICS, which is on this particular hour, the meeting ID is exactly the same. So it really doesn't matter if you refresh that invite or not, you'll land on the same call. I try to be pretty careful with that. Some early metrics, and this is we're not going to spend too much time on the metrics. We kind of explained in the last office hours how we're doing metrics, and now we're kind of collecting that and sharing that information then in a monthly call. But I just wanted to have this one here related on the PMP CSM Core component, because it actually has some pretty interesting data as well. If you're following us in Twitter, this went live yesterday in Twitter in the Office Dev PMP tag as well. But what it shows us is that some interesting statistics. So first of all, the unique tenants which are using the PMP Core component has increased 8.8%. It's not a massive increase, but it's pretty significant. So 8.8% increase in September comparing to the August. But the HTTP requests, that has jumped to 67%. So I think we crossed 500 million HTTP requests coming through the PMP CSM Core component during September, which essentially means that those people who are using the core component are using it more and more. So the usage is increasing faster with those who've started using that. So they kind of realize the power of the core component, and they're increasing the usage. Then there's a small chart around the versions. We can see that we are actually in the production. There's quite a lot of individual versions used, which is partly a problem or a challenge for us as well. Because obviously the newer versions have newer capabilities, and we would like people to use much more newer versions. Obviously, if the newer version has bugs, then it's understandable, but that people stick on the previous version. Using the August version or June version, release 3 is absolutely fine, but we have still more than 1,000 tenants who are using April version, which is slightly a challenge. And This is kind of a classic challenge, because we do absolutely understand that whenever partners or ISVs are working with customers, they deliver a project and then they leave. So there's no necessarily interest to go and update the existing core component. So most likely we will see the April version to be used for quite a long time before people are updating to the later version. One thing what we are planning to do within the core team is also to go through our existing samples which are using the core component and making sure that they're using the latest and greatest version. Because obviously if you right now go to the PnP repo, you pull down the version or the samples, they are not automatically upgraded to the latest version. And that means that they might be using a really old version of the core component as well. So we'll work on that one, most likely not for the October release, which will happen on Friday, because it's getting pretty tight from a scheduling perspective, but we're trying to get more and more of those samples up to date as well. Most used capability in the core component is the provisioning engine. It was used in 800 tenants during September, which is pretty impressive. And like mentioned previously within our calls as well, none of our team members never thought that these numbers are this impressive, like Ralph is commenting in the IO window as well. 800 tenants using the provisioning engine is actually a really good thing, because it means that there's a lot of people using it. It means that it's pretty production ready, and if somebody finds a bug, how would I put it? If somebody finds a bug, we will absolutely prioritize fixing those bugs as fast as possible. Obviously, there are some edge cases here and there, so you might see something in one tenant depending on the content of the tenant comparing to the other tenants. Basic scenarios in the engine are no doubt rock solid already. And if you disagree with that, let's have an open discussion after in the Q&A part of the call as well. One thing what we're also collecting, which is actually super interesting, is the top countries from a tenant usage perspective. So how many tenants are actually using the core components, and also how many requests tenants per country are actually causing. So top 5 countries based on tenant numbers is United States, which is by far the biggest, which is absolutely understandable. The maturity, well, not maturity, but there's quite a lot of Office 365 tenants in the United States. The second one is United Kingdom, understandable, Netherlands, India, and Sweden. The top 5 countries based on requests, it looks pretty similar but slightly different. So United States, Finland, Netherlands, and Italy, and United Kingdom as well. So essentially meaning that in Finland on average, well actually not on average, on overall execution, there's quite a lot of tenants which are using a lot the PMP core component, but the number itself is significantly less, for example, than in, well, not significantly, but it's less than in Sweden, as an example. And kind of a small joke, but we're kind of hoping that individual countries would start competing between each other. But we'll see how this will evolve in the future as well. We are getting this data, just to clarify how we are getting this data, is that in the core component, we're using the client tag property. So whenever you are actually executing something against SharePoint Online, we're adding the method which was executed and the version of the core component in the client tag property. And that's really the only information what we're collecting. And then because the SharePoint PMP is owned by the engineering, we have access on a SharePoint server, SharePoint Online logs, and we're able to essentially gather how many requests and how many individual requests were coming in from which tenants and which versions. So based on the client tag information, we're able to then surface that within our Power BI, which is something what Bert Janssen has been actually designing and creating for. Super impressive things, though. Good. Moving on topic. So one thing that we wanted to talk about today, this kind of relates on the PMP core and the engine and PowerShell, but not precisely, even though there is a direct dependency. So we are looking into we are looking into releasing, we in SharePoint Engineering, we're looking into releasing the client-side object model also for on-premises as Nuget Packages. And we're speculating on the different options on this one, so I wanted to have a quick chat if there's any opinions around this one in the call, because we do have some people in the call as well. So right now we're in a situation where we have a Nuget package for SharePoint Online. We do not have a Nuget package for on-premises. We only have an MSIs, essentially download, install exe or MSI installations for on-premises. And that means that to be able to use anything which is using client-side object model in a computer, you need to install that MSI separately into that computer, unless you reference to assemblies and release to assemblies as part of your solution package. Also your application. So what we're planning to do now, or one possible short-term plan, was that we would actually just take the existing MSI assemblies from MSI package and package them up as a Nuget package. And that means that if you are building a client-side object model-based implementation for on-premises, you would be able to just reference the Nuget package, and you can guarantee that the Nuget packages or the assemblies are always available as part of your solution. We do have one challenge around this one. So right now, the MSIs for SharePoint 2013 and SharePoint 2016, they are pretty old. So for SharePoint 2013, it's from April 2015. So the client-side object model is April 2015. And for SharePoint 2016, it's the RTM version of the season. We're not planning to update those MSI packages, but there's a kind of a small challenge if we would do that in the future. And let me explain that on the following slide. And I'm not sure if, well, let's see what's your opinions around the thinking. You might be completely up to date on how .NET framework works from a reference perspective, but let's actually walk this through in practice. So we do have a Visual Studio project. We reference our Nuget package from the Nuget gallery. And what will actually happen is that those assemblies are getting drag and drop to the bin folder in quotes. Well, actually, they are, when you compile, bin folder of your Visual Studio project. And that means that whenever you are compiling or whenever you are using, those assemblies are referenced directly from a bin folder, except if somebody has actually deployed an MSI package to that particular server. And in that case, it means that the assemblies are loaded from the GAG, so as in global assembly GAG. And this is kind of a classic story around DLL hell. Sorry for my language, but I think it's an industry standard term. So you cannot guarantee which actual versions you're using if we are releasing exactly the same assembly versions using the Nuget gallery and using the MSI installations. So in the longer run, I'm trying to explain this in understandable way. In the longer run, what we want to do is that we update those assembly versions to be 15.2 or 16.2, which are available from the Nuget gallery. So as a Nuget package. And that means if your solution is referencing the Nuget package and there is an MSI installed on a machine, it doesn't actually matter, because the assembly version is different in the assemblies which are in a GAG comparing which are coming from the Nuget gallery. Right now, however, if we want to go live with a short-term plan, we would actually have the same assembly versions in bin and in GAG, which would give us the benefit. If we would do this right now, it would give us the benefit that if nobody or somebody has not installed the MSI, the Nuget package will make sure that it's available within that machine. If somebody has installed an MSI, we would always download the MSI assemblies from the global assembly GAG. Right now, that's not a massive deal, because if the version is matching between a GAG and bin, we're good and there's no problems with doing that. If we would, however, release a newer version of this client-side object model assemblies, either the Nuget gallery or the MSI, we might have an, let's say, mismatch, or we might be in a situation where we don't know which of the assemblies are getting loaded by a solution, and we might actually run into issues. So the question is, do we want to go, and this is where I want to actually have your opinions if you have thought through this one. Do we want to go now live with the Nuget packages for on-premises in a way that they're matching with the assemblies which are in MSI? Or do we wait for 4 to 6 months or unknown time period until we can figure out our internal build process to build specific versions for on-premises, which assemblies which goes to the Nuget gallery? And that was a question, and hopefully we were able to follow up on the thinking. Is it beneficial to do something in a 4 to 6 months time period right now, rather than wait for the let's say 6 months to get something done? Ralph is suggesting that let's vote. We could do a survey, obviously, in the Skype, but I think there's only 17 people in the call, so it would be actually easier to have a discussion in the Iron window. Or, if you would like, you can absolutely unmute yourself as well and give your feedback and input. And I'm going to tease actually Bert on this one. Bert, what's your opinion around this one? Wait or go live with a short-term solution?
I think my opinion is kind of depending on, it depends opinion. I'm consulting background, so I always start with it depends. But in this case, it depends on whether indeed we can deliver, internally can deliver assemblies with a newer version. So let's assume a 15.1 version. So we can avoid loading from the GAC and ensure that we always use this proper version. So that's a key thing. If that will be soon, then let's wait. If that will be a longer time, then having this already makes sense, because then we have a proper mechanism to distribute the assemblies. We can do it quicker, more agile, probably than the current MSI model.
Yeah. But if we would wait for 6 months, is that soon or not? Well, it depends.
It depends. What would be the pace on which we would push out updated Nugets? Would we do that with each aligned with each CSOM? With each on-premises CU, meaning like
yeah.
If we do it like that, then makes sense, because there is no MSI package on a monthly basis.
Sure.
So we could align that, and we could make it easier for the community to get those assemblies earlier on, without having to grab them from a SharePoint box. But on the other hand, if you're developing on a SharePoint server from premises, you probably can also grab them from your box if you install the actual CU.
Sure.
So now I talked a lot, but I didn't give an answer, I guess.
Yeah, typical consulting answer. Paolo, do you want to unmute yourself just to make sure that 6 months is reasonable time frame for what?
For having the Nuget packages and the solution, I mean.
You mean that to doing the short-term solution to get it out and then reshuffle slightly on 6 months? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. And there's a Ralph. Ralph is essentially saying plus one for Paolo as well. Good. We don't actually need to speculate this too much, but this is a valuable input for our internal discussion as well. So, because it's one of these, like Bert put it really well, it depends. It depends on so many factors. Do we want to cause challenges within the 6 months, or do we? Well, it's a messaging challenge to update. Then how do we do this after that? And on the other hand, we've been waiting for like 3 years getting these Nuget packages created, which is a pity, but that's a different discussion. But okay, that's good feedback, and I don't want to spend too much additional time on this one as well. Good.
6 months is going really, really fast, Rolf. That's right.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. Well, we would have those packages ready right now if we would actually release them. I could actually release them today if I would like to do so, but I need to run through some internal discussions on that. Okay, cool. Good feedback in, and let's see how we proceed with that. I'll keep you guys up to date on this one, at least in the following PMP core team special interest group. One thing what we wanted to kind of see if there's any community people who have availability to assist us. We do have a pretty significant issue list problem, which is obviously depending on the resources which we have, because everybody is doing this. Majority of core team members are doing this also outside of their business hours. And what we've done right now, and let's see if we can actually start moving it with this one, is that we tagged, like, how many is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 issues with the community task label in the issue list. Some of these are relatively easy, and it's more around validation if something works or it doesn't work. And that would be highly beneficial if somebody has time to help us with this. And let me actually share my screen, so I'm going to quickly show you how to get the issue list moving. If somebody has availability to assist with this. And and people are seeing. Are you guys? Is it visible already?
Not yet.
Loading.
It's Skype, you know.
It's a hardware issue.
There it is. I can see it.
Cool. If you got it, so most likely, yeah, Paula got it as well. Cool. And Rolf. So our PMP Site Score, and just to kind of clarify this one, so PMP PowerShell and the PMP Site Score, for those who are not aware of this, but these are essentially the PMP PowerShell is just a wrapper on top of the PMP Site Score. So a lot of the issues, as an example, what we have in the PMP PowerShell are actually caused by, for example, export SPO taxonomy. It is actually caused by a mistake in a core component, but it's absolutely fine to report them in either way, either in PowerShell or in the PMP Site Score, because the PowerShell is just calling then the core component methods to actually make things happen. But in the core, in the PowerShell side, we have a pretty okay situation from an issue list perspective. There's random topics. Some of these are fixed, some of these are pretty old. But in the core component side, there's 139 issues. And this doesn't mean that we have 139 bugs. Most likely we have actually more unknown bugs in the system, but that's typical in software development. A lot of these are questions and challenges and issues which might have been already resolved, but in many cases we do not have actually time to double check that or run through that, because we do not have an easy way to test all of the different scenarios dependent on a content what we have in the schema. And no doubt somebody might say that, hey, you should have to have a much more higher coverage on a unit test, which is a fair comment, which however also requires a significant amount of resources. And we are a community-driven initiative, which means that we do not have an infinite resources to fix and automate everything. Now, in here we have tagged now some of these issues as a community task issues. So these are just issues which the community has actually reported, and as an example, apply SPO provisioning template site columns not connected to the term sets is a task or issue. In this particular case, this is a special one because this has been actually migrated over from the PMP repo, but it actually is defining that if you use an export SPO taxonomy and then you use apply, there's an issue around the taxonomy behavior. And going to slightly mute somebody from the line. Cool. Just missing the background noise. This particular fellow, as an example, this absolutely should be already fixed because we've been working on this on the taxonomy field and taxonomy field association, but we're not actually 100% sure. There's so many actions, so many things happening within the team as well that we would like to have the community assistance for validating some of the issues as well. So it has been tagged with the community task and with the comment which is saying it should be properly fixed, but it would need help on verifying this with the latest version. So if people go to the issue list, if we filter down the labels, the community tasks, we can actually see those which have been now ranked as those where we would actually need some assistance. So as an example,
what's the procedure if someone looks through the list after this call and says like, okay, I want to take this issue. What's the procedure for them to follow to avoid multiple people doing the same work? So
yes,
I think just adding a little message in there like, okay, I'm going to take this one.
Yep.
Would be sufficient, I guess.
Yep, no doubt. So adding a comment which is saying, hey, I'm going to do this, or I'm planning to do this within the following days, or whatever. And if nothing happens after a while, we can always re-comment and say, hey, this is an important thing for me, so I'm going to double check this one. This one is again a good example. There's a list does not, fatal error if a lookup site column is a source site is referenced in a list in a subweb. And the whole point is that it actually should be fixed, but we're not 100% sure if that's the case. So somebody just running through the scenario and testing the things. Some of these actually have templates inside of them, or issues include a template which can be executed against a SharePoint Online tenant for a testing perspective. So if anybody in the call or who's watching the recording have availability and time, we absolutely give you guys credits out of resolving this as well within our monthly communications. So you'll get noted on the monthly communications. And obviously, let me actually do this as well. So if anybody has time to assist with the issue resolutions, you will absolutely get listed on the key contribution sections. Well, I wouldn't call them key contributions, contributors in general. And if you are willing and if you want, we can add your company logo here as well for the sake of helping us on resolving these issues as we go and moving forward. And it's for a good cause as well, no doubt. Thank you, Ralph, on that. We do understand that not all of you have time to do this, and there's priorities of life and all of that. But if there's somebody who has time, that would be highly beneficial for the whole initiative. Good. Moving back on the slides, I'm going to jump back on the slides. And Bert, can you let me know when you see that? Or somebody can say that in the eye window. Shouldn't take that long.
Yeah, visual.
Good. You got it faster than me. That was weird. So, a few other things which we quickly wanted to go through. Oh boy, how time is flying again. PMP Templates Gallery. So this one was announced yesterday in social media. We actually talked about this one, or in quotes, announced in the Ignite last week as well. So the Templates Gallery SharePoint PnP.com. We went live with that site, and we do have a referenced GitHub repo for people to share their own templates for others as well, if they're willing to do so. And I think I actually have then I'm switching back on my screen. That's on my bad. I should have actually done this at the same time. So let me show that one in practice as well. So templates gallery, SharePoint PnP.com. Right now we have a subset of, a small set of templates available here. These are all created by Paolo. And they're relatively, well, I wouldn't say super simple, but there's a absence vacation request, SharePoint framework developer side, curriculum vitae database, a few other templates available as well, and we do have some ratings here. Cool. I think we have how many do we have? I think we should have more than 3. Or Paolo, is it only 3 or what we have now?
No, so far we just have 3 templates.
Okay, cool. So it's a good starting point, and we have 3 and to show how the things are actually working. One thing, by the way, Paolo, which we need to get here, I forgot to mention that for you. There's no link to that GitHub repo where we have templates. How to contribute, how to...
I will fix it. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. But it's actually kind of awkward.
I will stray.
Please share your templates. Where? I don't know. So in the Office developer, we do have PMP provisioning templates repository, and this works in a way that we do have a templates publishing guidelines, which is essentially explaining the whole process, how to get your template included, how does it actually work. If you want to share your templates to the templates gallery. Now, let me go back in here and quickly still explain what does it actually mean. So, if I go to my absence and vacation requests, what I can do here is that I can simply download this PNP template. It's a PNP template, which is available and visible and downloaded to my machine. And after that, I can actually apply that to my Office 365 tenant. And that's another thing which we need to actually make sure that we have clear guidance on how to apply and what do you need to do also within the site. Right now, that guidance is either in an announcement blog post or in here in the PMP provisioning publishing templates.
So actually thinking about this, maybe we can for VNext make a component where you from the site can just authenticate with your admin account from your tenant and just push in the template to create a site collection and push it in. Essentially, we could do that actually.
No doubt. So
you mean like say site as provisioning template directly into the gallery? You mean, Bert?
No, directly allow from the site to create a site collection in your tenants with the template, so you can try it out. A bit like we have those sites where you can play around with the APIs. They require you to authenticate, and then they use APIs against your tenant. We could do a similar thing from our side, then to create a site collection and then apply the template. Okay. It's for V 2.0, but yeah. Just wanted to share that one.
So, and just to clarify what it and here we have the blog post, which is for related on the announcement, and how to use the templates is relatively easy. So you download the template from the gallery, and after that you connect to your SharePoint Online, and then you essentially point to that template, and voila, you're good to go. And that's a good point that maybe in the future we can automate that directly from the PMP template site. But right now it's a manual process. You need to download that, you need to install PMP PowerShell, and after that you're able to just apply the PMP template to the site. But it works, like mentioned, it works in a way that if you want to share your templates for others, we would be looking into getting pull requests into this PMP provisioning templates site. In here, if I go to root folder, we're able to see those 8 categories, which are also visible in the template site. So if I scroll down here, we're able to see the exact same categories as a filtering mechanism. And then if I go here, for example, for development, we do have a SharePoint Framework dev site. And if I go to SharePoint Framework dev site, it actually has a description which is visible eventually in the template site, and it also has some additional images and additional metadata around the functionality itself, so that knows, or the engine or the template site automatically knows which platforms it is supported and which of the things are supported, and scopes, and well, the rating is obviously based on the clicks in here. Oh, it's a 5-star template. Come on, there we go. Good. There was a question from Dean Cross around, do we have a backlog of templates under development by others? And right now we don't. At least in our side, from a PMP side, we haven't actually created any tracking mechanism for that. We're looking into more around getting things started at this point. If we will have a massive amount of templates submitted, then we maybe need to start, let's say, prioritizing and communicating before the templates are getting in. Right now, we're fully open for any submissions as a pull request to this repo, to the right folder. They would be, well, individual templates are individual folders in the right gallery, and after that, when it gets approved, the pull request getting merged, it will be automatically available in the template side. Good. What if you get duplicate ideas? I wouldn't actually worry about the duplicate ideas. So certainly, it's a pity if there would be 2 templates which are exactly the same, but it's not a massively bad idea or massive, let's say, failure if somebody else is submitting absence vacation request, super absence vacation request template, and it has a much higher rating than the other one. So it really depends on how many templates we will have within a few months available within the site. So let's see how this starts moving and how much people are willing to contribute their templates and their time of doing this.
And Vesa, maybe I missed it, but have you highlighted the capability to use the template from the gallery also when we are inside the partner pack?
No, not yet. So one thing about which no, but it's a cool capability. So one thing kind of related on the template gallery is that if you are using the PMP Partner Pack 2.0, it actually has a native support for querying these templates directly from gallery. So the PMP Partner Pack 2.0, you are able to select the PMP templates gallery as the templates provider, and you're able to do searches and queries against the template gallery. In this case, it's curriculum is the search criteria, so getting the same template directly from the SharePoint, from the PMP templates gallery, and you're able to apply that to your tenant if you have the PMP Partner Pack 2.0 installed. This is a pretty super cool capability if you're using the PMP Partner Pack 2.0 as such. If you are more a partner or ISV and you want to demonstrate what's possible, it's still actually super cool capability as a demo functionality for you to show for your customers, and that what is possible to be done within a SharePoint Online. And you can see this functionality in practice. For example, in the Ignite recordings. So we do have that well, we do have that demo still up and running, but no point actually spending time on that at this point. Good. Moving back on the slides, few slides to go through. I want to have time also for open discussions. And it's 45 minutes. Come on. Talking too much. So switching back on the slides, I think we have a few slides to quickly touch, and then we're going to have an open Q&A discussion. Open Q&A discussion on the individual topics. So a few things. Nuget Packages. This is a slide which we had last time in office hours as well. Just to remind people, we do have a new set of Nuget Packages, and these are starting from version 1609 is actually the current version. 1610 will be released on Friday. The deprecated Nuget packages, our last version is 16.606. We're no longer updating these old Nuget packages. We're only updating the new Nuget packages. So if you're working with solutions or samples, and you find that you're using an older version of the Nuget packages, we would recommend you to use the newer version. And by the way, if you're using any of the PMP samples, and those are referenced in all versions, please do submit a pull request, and we'll get that one fixed as well. Other things, just a quick reminder, because still seeing questions around this one, people are not finding our new location for SharePoint development. So any SharePoint development documentation, or let's say in the future especially, right now it's more around SharePoint framework, can be found from the dev.office.com/SharePoint. So that is the new landing page for SharePoint development. And if you remember that URL, we'll keep on adding links and content to that location in the future as well, on top of the PMP page, obviously, but that's the new SharePoint development landing page. Other things kind of related on the question from Dean Cross. We were in the Ignite, so the PMP core team, 6 of the PMP core team members were in the Ignite last week, and I think 3 of us did actually have sessions. So me, Paolo, and Radi had sessions in the Ignite. And thank you for those, if you're watching this or if you are joining us in the call, thank you for dropping by and have a discussion. We did had a really busy week, and there was all the time somebody asking things around the provisioning engine and all of that stuff as well, and also the new SharePoint framework stuff as well. The PMP session itself, there was one session on Thursday around, let's say, what is a PMP, what we're going to do in the future, what's available right now. Had quite a lot of demos in it. So we walked through the JavaScript core, the PMP partner pack, PMP PowerShell, the core component, and all of that. And that session is, by the way, was it the top six of all of the Office sessions. So among 300 sessions, it was the 6th. So it seems to be that it was pretty entertaining, and the recording is available in the Ignite site as well. So if you're interested in having a look on what was actually shown. Good. I think that sums up pretty much on what we were planning to. Oh, there's a good question on the IM window. So who's on the photo? Let's go back in here. So that's me, that's Patrick Rogers, that's Frank Marasco, that's Erwin van Hoonen, and then there's Paolo and Radi, who are in the call. So that was from the left. That's Vesa, Patrick, Frank, Erwin, Paolo, and Radi. Yes, indeed. Nobody's in the witness protection program, at least yet. We'll see. We'll see what happens in the future. So all good. Good. There's a good question from Stephen. Finally, where can I find the weekly presentation? So the presentations are planned to go live also in the docs.com/office-dev-PMP. I think some of the weekly or bi-weekly presentations like this one or the office hours presentations have not been added there recently, and we're trying to fix our situation or fix our memory around that one, because that's really the location where we're trying to push all of the presentations which are available. If there's anything specific what you're missing, just let us know and we'll share the presentation with you. Or if you have a certain, let's say there was a session a while back, it had a pretty awesome picture, you want to have that, just ping us in wherever and we'll make sure that the presentation is added there. Good. But it's 49 minutes, me talking again a lot. Luckily there was Paula and Bert also talking some of the stuff, but I think pretty relevant information for today for the PMP Site Score, PMP PowerShell, and the engine as well. This Friday we're going to do a master merge. This release won't be, how would I put it? It won't be a massive, significant release because everybody has been busy with Ignite, and we don't have, let's say, massive development activities right now ongoing. It's more around stabilizing, making sure that all of the capabilities within the schema are implemented and all of that. So we do not have a new schema in the queue right now. Right, Paolo? Paolo is our schema man.
Right.
Yes. So that means that the October release will be more around stabilization, making sure that the engine and everything else is well, stable enough, and we're fixing a lot of small issues here and there. There will be still pull requests which we won't have time to get in, unfortunately, and we're trying to get more and more stuff in for the November release. But if there's any critical things, we will absolutely, let's say, do a additional releases in between the monthly releases if there is a critical issues what people might be facing within the engine as well. So please use the issue lists for reporting those issues. Now, any open other questions, comments, feedback? If there's something which you don't like in the PMP or SharePoint PMP or even in SharePoint engineering, just feel free to give feedback and we'll try to fix it as well. Or if you have suggestions. Why aren't those guys doing X and Y and Z? And we are able to actually figure out how to help you. We do not need to have a discussion, but it's obviously up to your, if there is any open questions. And if nothing else, you can always fall back on the Microsoft Tech community. So I'm going to paste in that URL also here. We are trying to follow up on all of the communications in the techcommunity.microsoft.com, and the easiest way to make sure that those discussions are seen by us as well is to use the PnP community URL, which is pointing directly to the SharePoint dev scope. My client just asked me if there are any plans to add an option to easily hide the quick launch that would not require some scripting. Hiding the quick launch from the left of the site. Do we have a setting for that one in the site level? I'm not actually.
Don't think so.
Yeah. I don't remember. I'm not sure.
The only way to do that would be to switch to Oslo master page. That would be one way of doing that. That would actually then be full page rendering, because Oslo master doesn't have the left side navigation. Because obviously, if there would be an API to do that, we can easily expose that using maybe an update to the schema. Yeah, Asim is saying exactly the same thing. Master page is the way I would go. That's the easy way to do it, because Oslo master is an out-of-the-box master page, and Oslo master does not have the left side navigation at all. Any other comments? Stefan is at least writing. I can sing while we're waiting. Oh yeah, so you can certainly do that's one way of doing that, no doubt. So if you want to use CRL.master, you can do CSS, alternate CSS, or then do scripting or JavaScript for it. But to be fair on Asim's comment, so Oslo master is an out-of-the-box master. So as long as if you use Seattle.master or Oslo master, you're not actually using a custom master page. So good. But if there isn't any let's say urgent things and other things to talk about, hopefully you guys are fine with our realignment of the office hours to be more on the PMP core component and the PowerShell. And then if you're more interested on the SharePoint framework, you can join on the bi-weekly call for that one as well. We'll get the slides and the recording available, slides available from the docs.com/office-dev-pnp or AKMS SPPNP-docs. And also the recording will be available in not channel 9, in YouTube relatively fast within 24 hours. But I think that's it for now. So let's continue discussion. We will have a master merge on Friday. We will have a monthly summary call on next Tuesday, and those are the next activities around the PNP. But But thank you for joining, and hoping to see you in the future as well. So let's be active on the social media and feel free to contact us. Thank you.